I'm live on Facebook. If you are joining me live, hashtag live. Thanks together. I think I'm live. Definitely let me know that you're here. Let me go ahead and tag followers that everybody knew I'm here. And what's up today? This topic is going to be a little triggering for some people, but that's okay. And one thing I will say, if this triggers you, please feel free to exit because I welcome that you sit down and become objective or think about what I'm saying before defending it on a hill that you want to, that you think you're going to spend the rest of your life on. Because there's always more than one perspective, and I want you to come to terms with that. So, again, hashtag live if you're catching me live. Oh my God, this time change has me like all messed up. So, and hashtag replay if you're catching the replay. And the one message I have today is that the number one reason that donors actually don't give again, we already know it's you not reaching out to them and engaging with them. But for layman's term, I want to tell you if your follow-up is trash, then you're going to have a big problem retaining donors and having any sort of relationship with your donors and funders. So today, let's talk about this is specifically for nonprofit leaders, so you can stop losing out on thousands, if not millions of dollars. Because when your nonprofit is not following up effectively with the donors, you work so hard to get someone, and then essentially, like, the lack of follow-up is leading to your nonprofit not being able to fundraise effectively. And that's a big issue to have. That's a problem that you do not want to have, essentially. So we're going to talk about that and why it's important to actually be better. Okay. Like you got to do better. You have to do better, especially in this fundraising climate that we're in. Like everybody is trying to finally diversify their revenue with the policy changes and everything that's happening. So I need you to do it a little bit better, up your game, right? And what's going to allow you to do that is that you're not disappearing after somebody gives, right? Because then what happens when somebody gives and you're not checking in with them? You know, they say yes, they give, and then what? You're disappearing. How do you disappear? There's no updates, there's no personal outreach, there's no engagement. I've been talking about how lack of engagement is definitely not a good thing for you to do. So when you need more money and you need to fundraise for more, you can't just expect donors or funders to want to give again, because that's not how donor relationships work. And I want you to actually work to improve those in 2025. I'm going to break down why most nonprofits fail at donor retention and why follow-up is ineffective with those organizations and what you need to do to fix it. Now, before we dive in, I want you to mark your calendar for March 14th. That's this Friday, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is 7:30 on the East Coast. So if you're in Florida, North Carolina on the East Coast, set 7:30 your time, because I want you to sign up for my free masterclass. It's called Build a Sustainable and Impactful Nonprofit Organization, where I'm going to walk you through the full blueprint of securing consistent funding. Now, I'm going to put the link for the masterclass in the comments. I'm going to put it in the comments. Register for the 314 masterclass here. Okay. So the link is now in the comments if you're on Facebook. If you're on Instagram or YouTube, it's going to be in my Stan Store link. So just click the link in my bio and definitely go register for this virtual masterclass that's happening on Friday. So Now, why donors don't give again? We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about some numbers that are very important because then I'm always giving you the data because I want you to make data-driven decisions. I want you to start looking at the numbers and thinking how you're going to improve your fundraising through data. Now, if you look at the numbers, about 60% of donors never give again because they don't feel personally connected to the cause. I've shared this statistics with you before, but like, you need to go read on that. Donor retention is a thing because donors don't feel like you're connecting with them. So that's something that you need to be really, really aware of. For those who don't know, I have a tendency to get cold very fast, and today is one of those days. So if I'm yawning and shivering, please forgive me, okay? The AC is not even on in my house and I'm freezing. Hey Ricky, how are you doing? So data-driven decisions is very important. So you need to remember that 72% of donors say they don't give because they are not sure how their money is going to be used or was used in the past. So they didn't even bother giving again. So that's why the follow-up is important and engaging with your donors is very important if you're trying to retain these donors. Okay, because if you're failing to engage your donor with your donors within the first 30 days after they make a gift, you will see donor retention rates drop by 50%. So when you're creating your standard operating procedures for donor relationship or donor management, make sure that the first touch point with somebody who makes a donation, especially if they're new, I don't care if they're new or existing, the first 30 days is that sweet spot. I want you to make sure that you're reaching out to them and ensuring that they are recognize and you're having a conversation with them and thanking them for their gift. So not only are you following up with them immediately, you're following up with them consistently because you're literally throwing donor money out of the window when you don't do that, when you don't follow up. Just imagine when you go to a networking event, you meet somebody new, you have their card, right? You never follow up. What happens with this relationship? It just goes and dies on a hill. Okay, so that's why I told you at the beginning, don't come on here thinking you're gonna fight with me because I'm gonna leave you on that hill to do this by yourself because what I'm talking about, I mean it. Donor retention, donor engagement is definitely something that you need to be focusing on if you want your nonprofit organization to see a change in how it's fundraising and how it's able to retain money or generate more money within the organization. Okay, because then what one thing I see all the time is a donor gives, right? The nonprofit sends a generic thank you email, if that, right? And they move on to the next fundraising campaign thinking donors are going to remember them when they ask again, which is far from the truth because like if it's a first time donor, even if they know somebody in the organization like personally, but in terms of gift, they gave because of the relationship they had with the person, not because of the relationship they had with your organization. So that's why I strongly recommend, strongly suggest, and for lack of a better term, I'm gonna tell you, go reach out to these people and build a relationship with them, okay? Because relationships are more important than you think, and I need you to start taking those seriously because they are going to determine whether or not you're able to secure funding long term. So, and the other thing that can happen, it's like if these people are donating money and then months later you reach out only because you need more money, don't be shocked how they respond. Okay. They're not going to respond well. They're not gonna care. And that's gonna be your fault. So at this point, I need you to be really intentional and very aware of how you are managing the relationships with donors or anybody who is donating or funding your organization. So when you are waiting for the last minute to go ask somebody to donate 1 cent, 2 cents, or whatever dollar you think is going to make a difference for your organization, that's not fundraising, that's begging because you're just waiting for last minute for you to even ask someone for anything. You're not actually fundraising at that point. And that's why I say you need to like what you have in your mind, that fundraising it is not it. You're inviting people, you're welcoming people to also, you're offering value to people. You're sharing with them an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of people. That's what you're doing. You're not asking for money. Because then another example, you wouldn't ask anyone to loan you money and then ignore them for months until you need cash again, right? Some people do that. Some people burn bridges like that. I've seen family members who borrowed money and then ignored that other family member for months. So that's not you, okay? I don't want that to be you. So you cannot be doing this with donors all the time. I'm telling you from experience, I've seen family members do that. They could not, even if they were in a ditch and needing help, go back to that same person to try to loan money again because that person would ignore them. And that's why it's important to continue building the relationship and keep people included in what's going on. Because then I kid you not, so that person that borrowed the money, they borrowed money from my uncle, right? They ignored my uncle, like ignore their calls. I think they blocked them or whatnot. And then I had a conversation with my uncle. He's like, if he had only come to me and told me he did not have, because it was a 4 to 5 figure loan, right? That he didn't have the money, I wouldn't care. I would tell him keep it. Because then he would just tell him to keep it. And do you see what I'm saying? It's like sometimes those conversations are very important for people to have because you never know where this person is. This person, your mission might be very important to them, but you never had the conversation or like about the impact that you're making, about how they helped you make that impact. So you just did not give them a reason enough to care to want to come back and donate. Okay, so your follow-up, it it's necessary and it's selfish in a sense, but you need to do it. You need to do it if you are leading a nonprofit because it's going to help you in the long run. It may sound harsh, but I am going to be 100% real about it. You can't reach out only when you need something. You need to stop treating donors and funders like they're ATMs and not partners, right? You need to see it as a relationship that you're building and you need to be intentional about it. Okay. So, like I told you that example, if you only heard from a friend, family member, only when they needed to borrow money, I want you to be honest about how that would feel, right? You'd stop answering because I sure know I would. I really would stop answering. That's exactly how donors feel after a while, only when they're being communicated with when you're running a campaign, only communicated with when you're sending in personal mass emails. Nobody took the time to pick up the phone to call them and ask them, what's important to them or sent them an email to personally connect with them. The email should not be only coming from your Mailer Lite, Constant Contact, or whatever you're using. You need to send personal emails to that individual as well. And you need to be able to show those donors how their money is making an impact. Okay, because they're not sitting around thinking about you or your organization. So you need to make your organization relevant, whether you like it or not, because these people are busy. They may have given the first time. You don't know the reason why they gave the first time, right? But you want them to believe in your mission enough and keep them engaged enough that they will not forget you. Because if they forget you, they will not fund you. Remember, I said visibility equals funding? If they forget about you, they will not fund you. Plain and simple. So I need you to always be top of mind and following up, engaging with your donors is very important for donor retention. Now, if you're guilty of disappearing after getting donations, this is what I want you to do immediately. I want you to make it your mission to stop treating donors like they're just transactions, because that transactional relationship that you have needs to cease right now. They're just, and donors are not just a name on a spreadsheet, they're actual people. who can potentially care about your mission. So I want you to start treating them that way. You need to personalize every interaction, use their name, reference their past giving history, make them feel seen. And I'll give you a personal example. I made a few donations last year. The only contact I received from these nonprofit organization was the receipt that I received, nothing else. And it's been a few months. I've never heard from them. Will I ever give to them again? Probably, probably not. We'll see. It depends of how the engagement, how they prioritize engagement in the future. But chances are I probably won't even remember in a few months. So that's what I'm saying. You need to be able to stop treating donors like transactions and actual people so they feel like they have a purpose and a reason to give to you, and your mission is actually personal to them as well. And the next thing I want you to do is I want you to show people and not just tell them. So saying thank you for your donation is not enough. I need you to show them exactly what their gift was able to do, how their gift made an impact. So if they made $100 donation, and you were able to take $100 to feed 5 families, make a short video update, send photos, testimonials, whatever it is, you need to show them instead of just telling them it made a difference. Okay, so I don't care if you are taking a short story and recording, shopping, what you're going to do with the money. Like, let's say it's a voiceover, you're not comfortable doing videos of yourself yet. You do a voiceover at the grocery store shopping, or maybe putting the kit or whatever you're doing together, and share that with them. Like, hey, this is what we have been working on. Hey, Calandra, this is what we have been working on, and share that with them, because you need to be able to show them and not like not just tell them, because they need to see how their gift is making an impact. It sounds like a lot of work, but it really isn't, because if you start adopting that mindset of showing your donors how their gift is making an impact, it's going to come part of your organization's like system, where every time you get a donor, you take that relationship and make it personal, then you're not going to have an issue retaining donors. It's going to be like that much more easy for your organization and your team, or whoever is in your development team, to nurture these relationships and build on those. And the next thing I want you to do, I have a few things I want you to do, so I hope you are taking notes. I want you to engage between ask, not just let it go between ask, but engage between ask. So if the only time your donors hear from you is when you need money, you are doing it wrong. So let's say you're doing a fundraising campaign and that's when they hear from you, you're definitely doing it wrong. You need to engage with them in the short periods of time as well. Like if they are local, hey, you made a donation of XYZ, this is what we are able to do. Remember, show them, not just tell them. So maybe it's a downtime and you don't need anything from them, but welcome them to take a tour of your facilities. Like, hey, we've been doing XYZ and we really would want you to come see the work that we're doing if you're willing. Is that something you would be welcome to? And kind of invite them and see what happens. Engage with them year round. Keep them in the loop year round. Behind the scene update. So if you welcome them for a tour, that's a behind the scene that you're showing them. So that goes a long way. Success stories, milestones that you were able to accomplish. High retention nonprofits don't just fundraise, they're building relationships. So it's a relationship aspect I need you to focus on in 2025 to ensure that you are retaining donors and actually making a difference in the work that you do. So create a donor retention system is the next phase that I want you to work on, where 80% of donor retention is a process. That's because you're being intentional about it because you did the other things that I asked for. So it's the process and it's not luck because you need to have processes and systems in place in your nonprofit organization to ensure that you're actually doing the thing, right? And you need a system to automatically nurture these donors. So thank you sequence, impact updates, check-ins. So like let's say your CRM, somebody made a donation January 5th, 2025. By February 1st, somebody should have reached out for a personal thank you because they got the thank you email from after making the donation, but make sure somebody reaches out to them from January 5th to February 1st and a personal thank you. Now, sometime in February, somebody is reaching out or there's an email sent out to that person to update them on what's going on. Because one thing that should happen, if you have the team, maybe you have a communications team, there's somebody sending monthly updates, right? In a email, a email software or whatever. And they're doing that. They're ensuring that they're including this person in this list. There's a group called donors where these donors get automatic impact updates, right? And check-ins. Maybe in March, somebody checks in personally. So all these things are things you need to have a system for. So it becomes a process and not just luck. You're intentionally working to retain your donors, not just always seeking new donors, right? So if you're not sure where to start with that, I want you to go ahead and download. It's called the Nonprofit Revenue Expansion Blueprint because in the blueprint, you get templates of social media posts and storytelling posts, like email templates. You get so many templates that it would support the work that you do. Because then I was going to ask you to get the Nonprofit Funding Quick Fix, which is another great resource with templates. It's a mini course. But the blueprint has more templates and I would want you to get that one. Or you can get, it's $27 for the revenue expansion blueprint and $47 for the funding quick fix. Or you can get both for $55, which is something you can do. I'm gonna drop the links in the comments shortly for all the individual ones that you can get, even the combo. But definitely get one of them so you can have the templates and have somewhere to start where you're getting the work done. Okay. Now, if you take nothing from this live, I want you to remember one thing because today, like it's pretty straightforward. And like I said, I am not gonna like beat around the bush with you. It's very simple. Your nonprofit's funding problem isn't about needing more donors. It never was, it never will be. It's about keeping the ones you already have. If you have an existing pool of donors, if you do not, then yes, you need to get more donors. If you like, and visibility will help you increase that. But if you already have donors, it's about keeping the ones you already have. Retention is always cheaper than acquisition. So the more you're focusing on keeping donors engaged, the less time and effort you'll spend constantly chasing new ones. So you have to start working and start having a system to retain the donors you have. Because if you're serious about making these shifts that we're talking about and securing consistent, predictable funding, like these are things that need to happen. And the other thing that needs to happen, you need to be in my free masterclass on March 14th. And the link is in the comments if you're watching this live or replay. But if you're on Instagram or anything, like go ahead and click the link in my bio, and that should be the first item on there. It's called the Build a Sustainable and Impactful NPO on my store. So nonprofit organizations, NPO stands for nonprofit organization. So go ahead and click on that link and definitely register for that. You can also find more products and services that can support the work that your nonprofit is doing. Go ahead and look around. If you have any more questions about anything that's on there or would love to know more about the services that I have, reach out, let me know, because then there might be services that you need that are not on there. But remember, I focus on strategic planning and capacity building. So go ahead, feel free to reach out to me and ask any questions that you have, and then we'll talk soon. Bye, y'all.